Hello viewers. So today we want to be examining a well-detailed story of Moshood Kashimawo Olawale Abiola, popularly known as MKO Abiola. Hmm. Moshood Kashimawo Olawale Abiola was born on the 24th of August 1937. He was a Nigerian businessman, publisher, and politician. He was the Are Ona Kakanfo, the 14th one of Yoruba land, and also an aristocrat of the Egba clan. MKO Abiola ran for presidency in 1993, for which the election results were annulled by then the military president Ibrahim Babangida because of allegations that they were corrupt and unfair. Abiola was awarded the National Honor GCFR, the Grand Commander of the Order of the Federal Republic, and an honor awarded to only Nigerian heads of states. So Abiola was a personal friend of Ibrahim Babangida, and he is believed to have supported Babangida's coming to power. Abiola's support in the June 1993 presidential election cut across all geopolitical zones and religious divisions among a few politicians to accomplish such a spread during his time. By the time of his death, he had become an unexpected symbol of democracy. So, talking about MKO Abiola's involvement in politics. Abiola's involvement in politics started early on in life when he joined the NCNC, that is National Council of Nigeria and the Cameroons, at the age of 19 in 1979. The military government kept its word and handed over power to the civilian. So, as Abiola was already involved in politics, he joined the ruling National Party of Nigeria (NPN) in 1980 and was elected the state chairman of his party. Re-election was done in 1983 and everything looked promising since the re-elected president was from Abiola's party and based on the true transition to power in 1979. So, Abiola was eligible to go for the post of presidential candidate after the tenure of the re-elected president. Well, however, his hope to become the president was shortly dashed away for the first time in 1983 when a military coup d'etat swept away the re-elected president of his party and ended civilian rule in the country. Abiola was a member of Ansarudeen organization in Nigeria in the 1980s. Through his National Concord newspaper, Abiola supported Islamic causes, including introduction of a Sharia court of appeal in southwestern Nigeria and Nigeria's entry to the Organization of Islamic Countries. The support given the latter received less favorable response from some readers of the National Concord. Notwithstanding, he was actively involved in the formation and activities of the National Sharia Committee. So, in 1984, he was given a title of Baba Adini of Yoruba land by a committee of Muslim clerics. His support of Islam in southern Nigeria earned him some recognition in the northern region of the country. In his hometown of Abeokuta, Abiola built a Quran training center which was named after his mother, Zuliat Abiola. After a decade of military rule, General Ibrahim Babangida came under pressure to return democratic rule to Nigeria. After an aborted initial primary, Abiola stood for the presidential nomination of the Social Democratic Party (SDP) and beat Ambassador Babagana Kingibe and Alhaji Atiku Abubakar to secure the presidential nomination of the SDP ahead of the 12 June 1993 presidential elections. Abiola had managed to work his way out of poverty through hard work. He established Abiola bookshops to provide affordable, locally produced textbooks in the 1980s, when imported textbooks became out of the reach of ordinary Nigerians as the naira was devalued. He also made available daily necessities such as rice and soap at affordable prices in the market. So, Abiola announced his candidacy for president in February 1993. This was after a previous round of presidential primaries had been cancelled by military President Babangida. His party of choice was SDP, though he was an outsider who was new to the partisan politics within the party, which at the time was dominated by two major factions: People's Front, that is PF, and PSP. Both SDP and its opposition, NRC, held presidential primaries in March 1993. SDP's primaries was held in Jos and was largely a three-way contest between Abiola, Kingibe, and Atiku. Even though there were more aspirants, Abiola was heavily supported by the People's Solidarity faction, PSP, within SDP, while Atiku was supported by PF faction, led by Yaradua, and Kingibe was supported by a loose coalition of party members. During the first ballot, Abiola was able to score a slim majority vote of 3,617 to Kingibe's 3,225 votes. A second round was contested 2 days later, and Abiola again emerged victorious with a slim margin, and he became the party's presidential candidate for the June 12 election. Abiola's political message was an optimistic future for Nigeria, with slogans such as "Farewell to poverty," "At last, our rays of hope," and "The burden of schooling." His economic policy included negotiations with foreign creditors and better management of the country's international debts. In addition, increased cooperation with the foreign community, while presenting himself as someone the international community can trust. For the June 12, 1993 presidential election, Abiola's running mate was his primary opponent, Babagana Kingibe. He defeated his rival, Bashir Tofa, of the National Republican Convention. The election was declared Nigeria's freest and fairest presidential election by national and international observers, with Abiola even winning in his northern opponent's home state of Kano. Imagine that. Abiola won at the national capital, Abuja. The military polling stations and over two-thirds of Nigeria states, men of northern descent, had largely dominated Nigeria's political landscape since independence. Moshood Abiola, a Western Muslim, was able to secure a national mandate freely and fairly, unprecedented in Nigeria's history. So, however, the election was annulled by Ibrahim Babangida, causing a political crisis, riot, which led to General Sani Abacha seizing power later that year. During preparation for the 2011 Nigeria presidential elections, there were calls from several quarters to remember MKO Abiola. In 1994, Moshood Abiola declared himself the lawful president of Nigeria in the Ekpete-Edo area of Lagos Island, an area mainly populated by Yoruba Lagos indigenes.
On the part of government, all matters relating to the election should have gone to the tribunal set up by law for such cases, and should only have been initiated by persons or bodies that had genuine interest in the election. Instead, we are being told that the judiciary behaved so badly that I, Moshood Kashimawo Olawale Abiola should be penalized for his conduct. It is incredible. In view of all this, I find the conclusion unfortunate but inescapable that the federal military government is guilty of bad faith, pure and simple. No one has accused me of any offense against any known electoral law or regulation. The people of this country went to polls on Saturday, June 12, 1993, and without let or hindrance chose me as their president. Didn't they? They did.
After declaring himself president, he was declared wanted. Look at how he implicated himself. He was declared wanted and was accused of treason. So, and arrested on the orders of military president General Sani Abacha, who sent 200 police vehicles to bring him into custody. MKO Abiola had been referred to as Nigeria's greatest statesman. His second wife, Alhaja Kudirat Abiola, was assassinated in Lagos in 1996 after declaring public support for her husband. Moshood Abiola was detained for 4 years, largely in solitary confinement with a Bible, Quran, and 14 guides as companions. During that time, Pope John Paul II, Archbishop Desmond Tutu, and human rights activists from all over the world lobbied the Nigerian government for his release. The sole condition attached to the release of Chief Abiola was that he renounced his mandate, something that has refused to do. He refused to do it, yes. Although the military government offered to compensate him and refund his extensive election expenses. For this reason, Chief Abiola became extremely troubled when Kofi Annan and Emeka Anyaoku reported to the world that he had agreed to renounce his mandate after they met with him to tell him that the world would not recognize a 5-year-old election. Moshood Abiola died unexpectedly shortly after the death of General Abacha, on the day that he was due to be released. While meeting a group of American diplomats, including Thomas Pickering and Susan Rice, at a government guest house in Abuja, Abiola fell ill and died. Rice had served tea to Abiola shortly before his collapse, and later wrote of an enduring belief in Nigeria that she had poisoned Abiola. So, could that be the case why Abiola died? Because of the tea that he was served. Independent autopsy, carried out and witnessed by physicians and pathologists from the Nigerian government, Nigeria Medical Association, Canada, UK, and the US found substantial evidence of long-standing heart disease. So this is proving Nigerians' perspective about his death, that he was poisoned. Wrong, yeah. General Abacha's chief security officer, Hamza Al-Mustafa, has alleged that Moshood Abiola was in fact beaten to death, and although Al-Mustafa claims to have video and audio tapes showing how Abiola was beaten to death, he has yet to come forward with the release of such tapes or how it was procured in the first place. Regardless of the exact circumstances of his death, it is clear that Chief Abiola received insufficient medical attentions for his existing health conditions. Hence, whatever claims Al-Mustafa must have made to direct blames to other quarters other than himself and his late boss, General Sani Abacha, might be irrelevant or at best point back to them as the murders of MKO. A number of different perspectives, exist on Abiola's death. The renowned writer and playwright Wole Soyinka, in his autobiography, said you must set forth at dawn, categorically asserted that Abiola was presented with a poisoned cup of tea during the final interview with the BBC. He was certain about the fact that Abiola was poisoned, although information on what entities were behind the poisoning have yet to come to light. The Human Rights Violation Investigation Commission of Nigeria conducted a series of hearings aiming to discover the truth of events leading to the Abiola's death, concluding that Abubakar's regime probably knew more than it revealed. So, as touching the assassination of late Chief MKO Abiola's wife, a Lagos High Court has ruled that Major Hamza Al-Mustafa retired, the former chief security officer to maximum dictator Sani Abacha, must die by hanging for the 1994 murder of Hajia Kudirat Abiola, the wife of the late business mogul and winner of the June 12 election, Bashorun MKO Abiola. You see, justice is the will of the strong, and why the strong does what he likes, the weak suffers what he must. This is the most appropriate way to describe the case of Chief Moshood Kashimawo-Olawale Abiola, the acclaimed winner of the June 12, 1993 presidential election under the military. No, the military is the strong, and they did what they like. Why MKO Abiola, and indeed those who voted for him, the weak, they suffered what they must. What seems to have escaped the attention of many in the political impasse that followed, June 12, 1993 presidential election is the role the courts played in the annulment of the election by the then military president General Ibrahim Babangida, and how the courts were manipulated to deny Abiola justice in the electoral manners before them, shortly before and immediately after the annulment. This is very, very inhuman and unfair, but so many were unable to speak up because we are the weak, and this is the injustice that was done as regards late Chief MKO Abiola. May his soul continue to rest in perfect peace.